Okay, thank you. So anyone now, from what you've heard from what the other groups discussed and things that have occurred to you, would we agree here? Are we the idealists and therefore possibly the ones that will be more realistic about the future?
Be what?
Be more realistic about the future, or be able to realistically move the world into the next step post pandemic?
Oh, Jack said the cabaret was the lasting image that we had before we had to close. We have to be the cabaret or the house church.
My
I
point on
belong
the
to
cabaret was that the other world that we put as a background for the cabaret was the German sense of destiny, and what I was saying was the awe that those people felt so much that they built a salute, and they all believed that they had the future in their hands, and what it meant to wake up to reality, that was not real, but they thought it was real. And so awe is a very interesting twist of what is authentic awe. And for me, that has to do with, in the cabaret, we did the other world, which meant we said there was values were part of the awe. And the values, therefore, keep you in line with what it is that needs to happen. And if you don't have the values, then you can have January 6th. You can have all sorts of things that people say, my God, I was just caught up with what was happening, and I went and I did it. And there are people who are leading it who know that's exactly the methodology that enables people to them, thousands or hundreds of thousands of people. So I think there's some wisdom in our history, and I just use the cabaret as that place we could look at to begin to understand the power that we're up against in the world.
Well, I think that we've touched on myths, rites, and symbols, and where you find that awe, the deepest level is in the church. And that's why I mentioned that I belong to an evangelical house church that meets, that hasn't been meeting, but we read Bible passages to tide us over until after Easter, when we'll meet together outside. But in any case, what would it mean to turn your home into a house church and have a diverse, small congregation that you fed on the other side of having a Bible study? These people, these evangelicals, we sent one of our members to Korea, or I forget, she went to Asia, and I supported her in that. She just transmits the word to Korean pastors who are doing house churches in spite of the repressive government. I wish I knew the country that she actually went to, but it was either Korea. I don't think it was Taiwan, because I don't think they repress their churches.
Neither does Korea, except north.
Yeah, only
Someone who
north.
hasn't yet had a chance to speak and in the group yet, what hasn't been mentioned that is going through your mind at this point, having reflected on this chapter and hearing each other's reflections and perspectives? on what it is and what is it that guides us as realists into being a part of creating what comes next.
Well, one thing that Louis Pierce, one thing that guides us is, as we all know, an inclusive myth, or writing the mythology. And in 1967, Martin Luther King gave a speech. It's on YouTube. It's called The Three Dimensions of a Complete Life. And he talked about that there's the length of life, which is our own security, health, wealth, and progeny, and a little fun. And we could talk about it as maybe the land of mystery. It's self-fulfillment. And then he talked about the breadth of life, where we're concerned about the welfare for others, take a risk for the world and for one's community. And that could be on the sanctification pole. I think it could also represent the mountain of care in the myth, or the mythology. And then there was the depth of life, which is the God, which is represented on the being pole, maybe I could say, on the great image that was created, where we understand that, like he said, I know who holds the future, but I don't know what the future holds. And that's a deep sense of, obviously, as we all know, humility. So it is the dimensions of a complete individual life, a community life, and any kind of life that it's an inclusive myth. And we could put all kinds of words and phrases and stories into this full-hearted mythology. Anyway, that's what I have to say.
I feel like Fareed Zakaria very much believes that multilateralism is already happening. And I think where he talks about the most is at the local level. I've had many opportunities since George's death to have many conversations that I was in the now. And I almost look forward now to having an opportunity to talk to somebody internationally because of an issue I'm trying to solve. And I hear a rooster crow or hear something going on and say, hey, are you in the Philippines? And I decided to, since they're all recorded, that because they tell you that at the beginning, I'm going to record. I said, that's fine. And I find that's where I've just decided to have spirit conversations. And it's amazing how people will take that kind of time when you're dealing with an issue to talk about life, because I'm talking about life in deep pain and suffering from my situation. And I just think that's where it's at in these days, is in having those spirit conversations wherever we show up, because it's happening with everybody. And I think they yearn for it. And I look forward to those rather than thinking it is an imposition.
I looked around my space today and I'm going to start a house church in our building. We have 11 stories, 120 residents, some disabled, mostly aged or aging. Very well. There's community here and I want to impact it with RS1 as taught through Bible study. They've had a couple, 2 or 3 that started and kind of petered out. But since the pandemic, I'm thinking that people may be in the mood, in the zone to be fed with the Spirit. And you got to feed them. So I got provisions that I intend to put together on the stove, a big pot of chili mac or spaghetti or whatever. And that's how I got into this evangelical, diverse, small congregation. The woman upstairs on the 11th floor who just turned 90, she said, come to my church. And we had food afterwards. I said, oh.
Food is good.
And they got me good. And I support them as much as I can afford to.
Thank you, Don. One more comment, maybe short, or if you've got something else that really you'd like to share, please put it in the chat.
I would like to say that what life has taught me really is to stay open to the emergent. That's a new word for me, to refer to mystery, to the surprise, to whatever comes. Because even if we have rational aims and existential aims or experiential aims, when we encounter people, we are encountering the unknown. And to be open to that, and like I am listening today, how do we let our eyes see, or our heart feel, what is coming out of like what our conversation today. And to me, it's just that we do not have the answers. To be first is actually from our tradition, is to be the servant of all. That means to listen to all. And share what you were saying, Sister.
Yeah, I'll just mention in passing, Ellie and her daughter have written an incredible new song. And I don't know whether you've played it on this with this group or not. I may have missed that week. Anyway, Let the Earth Breathe is incredible new ballad. And I was just thinking of the power, what are the vehicles? Maybe for Dawn it's a house church. What are the vehicles for the Spirit communicating, jolting people with the Spirit, and the music, the songs that have been so powerful in our past are still all being, the new ones are all being written. How many deaths will it take till we know that too many people have died? How many pandemic deaths will it take till that, that song suddenly has a whole new era to be sung. How many deaths will it take till we know that too many people have died? Let the Earth Breathe. And we used with our church study group a couple of weeks ago, we used We Are the World, We Are the Children. And that had a very powerful impact on people, to take an older song and just play it again and listen to those words. Or brand new words like Ellie has written. So anyway, I just feel like, the whole world can tap into any song at any moment. And so keep writing them, Ellie.
Ellie, will you put that on?
Every man and nation comes the moment to decide.
I love that.
Thank you. We think probably we need to move on, and I need to turn it over to Jim, who will give us the assignments, set us up for the conclusion of our time together with studying these 10 lessons that our author has put forward for us to reflect on. But I also want us to maybe just, pause, no answers necessary, but silently, what lesson have you learned that you would like to leave at your death, maybe from this illusion or not, what? And then Jim, please take over.
Thank